Hello, it's happy times and places in which I, Toby Hadoke, ask a friend of mine to choose a Doctor Who story. I will then commentate through the story, all the time trying to guess what my friend's favourite things about this particular instalment are. Well, welcome to my home. I was going to watch something else tonight, and I thought, no, I'm in the mood for this. We shall explore why very, very shortly. But first, let's introduce ourselves to the special guest who has chosen this particular story. Now, I never watch the videos in advance, but I have to check the very beginnings of them to make sure they work, so I don't get any unpleasant surprises of failing technology sort of live as I do this. So I've seen a snippet of what my special guest has done, and let's say I think he's put in quite a lot of effort and gusto. So you may need to prepare yourselves for Nick Randell, who I met because he interviewed me for his podcast, which is called Scratch and Sniff, where he's interviewed lots of very interesting people and me. I think he had I don't know, I think he must have been let down by somebody off the telly or something. But anyway, he very kindly showered me with gifts after I went and talked about my not very illustrious career at him. And we've kept in touch, and he's lovely. And he's certainly gone to an effort. So let's see who he is and why he's chosen this particular story.
Oh, hello. You just caught me polishing my stalk. My name's Nick. I'm a podcaster and a rancid old Doctor Who fan from the time of darkness. And I mean that literally. We're talking power cuts and 3-day weeks, if you remember that far back. Thank you so much to Toby Hadoke for allowing me this chance to be on your fantastic podcast, Happy Times and Places, to talk all about certain bits of Doctor Who episodes and see if you can guess my favourite bits of those episodes. I think that's right. Very exciting for a Doctor Who fan. Now, some of you out there might think I'm not a bona fide Doctor Who fan, and you just think I've been parachuted in from some below-par 80s sitcom from a commercial channel. But I do actually have my Doctor Who sack here to prove to you that I've got quite a lot of memorabilia. Now, this is actually bigger on the inside than the outside. So what have we got in it, folks? There's the dreaded Daleks, most exciting there. I've even got my very, very own, there it is, sonic screwdriver. Ooh, and it does work. And what else we got in here? Oh, we have the dreaded silence. Silence will fall. Oh, and we've also got, I've got to show you this, the silence. Silence will fall. All right. Bloody producer. Oh. That's to remind me to defrost a turkey. Today, I'm going to be talking about two classic episodes from the David Tennant, Billy Piper era. The Impossible Planet, that's a planet that's impossible, and the Satan Pit. Over to you, Toby.
I told you he'd make an impression and that he'd gone through an effort. So, Nick has chosen, rancid old Doctor Who fan, has chosen The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. And I noticed from the video files, he's chosen 3 and a bonus for each episode. You're supposed to choose 3 from each episode if it's a new series, and a bonus that covers either one or both. Otherwise, I'd just said choose 4 from each. But he's not the first person that's made a mistake in terms of what you choose for the new series, because I don't think I was very clear. If you remember, Lisa Gledhill, I think, chose just 3 things from Tooth and Claw, when it should be 5 for it's 5 for a new series episode, or 3 each if it's a 2-parter, plus a bonus. 3 for each if it's a 2-parter plus a bonus. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Nobody's keeping score or tabs. I mean, I really hope they aren't. If you are, in the words of Alec Guinness, please never do that again. Go and do something with your lives. But I'd also be secretly pleased if somebody was chronicling this nonsense. They won't be. One day, maybe in the future, when all of Doctor Who has been disgorged, they go, somebody will come up and go, I'm a fan of obscure podcasts. Anyway, so I am on iPlayer, which means I might have to leap into action when the closing credits hit. But for now, I'm going to press play in 3, 2, 1. I remember exactly the day I watched. It's been quite a sunny day here, and I've been walking in the park. And in fact, I walked past that park on my way back from a barbecue to watch this episode. It was still a time when I absolutely insisted on watching Doctor Who go out live. I mean, unless I was gigging, but I remember that because I think I managed to do most of Series 1 live, but I remember I missed Rise of the Cybermen because I was doing a well-paid gig I couldn't turn down, and I got a text from a friend telling me about it. The general feeling was that it was mildly disappointing, Rise of the Cybermen, but disappointing at this point was good, but not really, not as amazing as all of the other stuff. And I think that two-part, and then the Idiot's Lantern, which was fine. I actually like the Idiot's Lantern much more now than I did then, where I thought it was fine, but nothing to get carried away about. And then this episode, there'd been a clip on Totally Doctor Who that for the time it went out, I remember thinking, wow, that's terrifying. And it featured Gabriel Wolf's voice. It's the scene where the beast talks to Toby. And I remember thinking, this looks right up my street. So I was quite excited about this. And I walked home from a barbecue in the sweltering heat. I think I can say, historians, this is the only Doctor Who story that I've watched either having just eaten or polishing off a Tangle Twister ice lolly that was melting because it was so hot. So really bad timing for a story that I think is best watched at midnight in front of a log fire. We'd got French windows put in, and the sun was streaming in for this terrifying. And we've got a sort of false cliffhanger here. But I have to say, I think the pre-credits cliffhanger is a moment of genius, and I think it's a shame that we've lost them latterly. But I think Russell T Davies's era does story beats really, really well, and he's got an eye to luring people in. You have the cliffhanger before the story begins, and then pretty much every 5 minutes there's a game-changing moment or a dramatic moment. And it's a way of keeping you interested. And I think these stories do that so brilliantly. So yes, before we get to this, the designs of the Ood are marvelous. Again, it's that clever thing of taking bits of an existing creature. They've got a bit squid-like, aren't they? But they've got a lovely benign quality to their eyes. Silas Carson's voice is also lovely. Danny Webb, one of my favourite actors. I was so excited to see that he was doing Doctor Who, and I was worried because when actors who were doing well when I was younger, appear, in something when I'm an adult, I always sort of hope that they either get top billing or they stay alive for a bit, and that it's not because I don't like the idea of an actor's career sort of dive bombing. And I was very pleased to see Danny Webb gets top billing. Even though he's not, it's a bit of an ensemble piece. Top billing for Danny Webb, who I understand got the part because he was auditioning for something else in the building, and he saw they were doing Doctor Who, and he went and said, "Can I have a word?" And he was actually somebody they'd been thinking of. He was, what did I know him from? He was in Kenneth Branagh's Henry V as Gower, the English captain. And he was in Alien 3, of course. He's turn away now if you've not seen Alien 3. He's about the only survivor, isn't he? He swears a lot. He gets the last line. F him. This is a base under siege story. Absolutely right up my street. My my first Doctor Who book was The Web of Fear. So get a load of personnel, preferably some military ones, stick them in a few sets. Because I also grew up watching things like the Poseidon Adventure, where you got to know certain characters, and half the fun was working out who was going to die. Sean Parks has just returned for Big Finish, actually. Excellent actor, award-winning actor. If you didn't see Small Axe, series of films on the BBC, excellent. I mean, it's a really good cast, this. And Mariana Buring, who's gone on, I think this is one of her first things, has gone on to have a fantastic career. Ronnie, I'd forgotten, I sort of knew because he'd done a play at the Royal Exchange Theatre at the same time that I was there, and he'd come to a couple of my gigs and we all hung out a bit. He's a lovely chap. And Claire Rushbrook, they were going to bring her back at some point. And Toby, there's only one classic series character called Toby. I'm not talking Tobias. That's Windsor Davis in Evil of the Daleks. There's a Toby here, but there's been Tobys since. There's in the Pirate, the Curse of the Black Spot. There's a Toby, but this is Toby Zed, Will Thorpe, fresh from Casualty, where he played an ambulance driver. So it's a cast of recognisable faces, and it's always nice. I actually quite liked seeing regulars from soaps. I mentioned this when Bruno Langley was in Dalek. Turn up and turn their hand to sci-fi and acquit themselves well, because it was a way of bringing viewers who may be ambivalent towards science fiction into it and going, oh, okay, it's that guy who I know from that thing, and and they're fitting in and they don't stick out, and it this. But I have to say, I once wrote a Doctor Who story when I was at a friend's house, and the opening thing, and we read the results out to the gathered parents, and I read out a scene where they basically did the roll call because I wanted to introduce lots of characters and then kill them off, and I was halfway through the roll call and I could see everyone sort of laughing and stifling because I was aware this was going on forever and it wasn't very dramatic. So I'm always reminded of that shame, because there's about 25 people on it as well, because it wasn't a very elegant way of introducing people. But the reason I chuckle at this introductory scene is because she introduces everybody, including Toby Zed, who's gone, except for Danny Webb's two non-speaking security guards. And having just done the Seeds of Death, where poor old Harvey, who's an extra who nobody ever refers to again, she goes, and that guy's gone as Toby Zed, and that's Danny Webb. That's our head of security. And what are the names of the two guards? Oh, that's Sheila and Keith. Oh right, yeah. They don't say much. They've been marked for death. But it does. But it's because when so much attention to detail is paid on these brilliant productions, it's always been a thing where if you're a non-speaking person, you're a bit like scenery, and so we don't have to think about you. But it makes me giggle because in a real situation, you wouldn't do that. I love Claire Rushbrook's diction and manner. She's got a very gentle, empathic, intelligent quality about her. But I also, doesn't she get the line here where she says, "I'm going to give you some information now, FYI," as they used to say in the old days. And you go, "What? Why have you said that?" I don't stub my foot and go, "Oh, bugger," or "zoons," as they would have said in the olden days. Yeah. So there's a couple of moments that make me giggle a bit. It's such a good production. This. It's such a good production. I love the genius of getting Gabriel Wolf's voice, because it resonates for those of us who love Pyramids of Mars, for which he played the voice of Sutekh, one of the greatest vocal performances in the whole of classic Who history, one of the great Doctor Who villains, represented simply by somebody sitting in a chair with a mask on and a voice. and whose ever idea it was to get him back for this, because it ties in with the theme, because Sutek was an ancient, was an ancient god slash alien slash breeder of the Satan myth, or part of that, and that's what the creature is here as well. So, and it's that, and there's nothing better than something bit sci-fi, futuristic based, very aliens, love that, but taking us right back to our ancient primal fears and mythology, which, because it is old and because it is in the past and because everybody involved in the chronicling of it is dead, somehow has an ancient power as also associated with death and dustiness and the fact that the past is by its very nature full of ghosts. That's that. They're the only people that inhabit it. They're all dead. I love the little character notes. They're setting up Zach. I thought Zach would die in a blaze of glory. I remember we had a little... I like it when the Doctor wears glasses. We had a little... I'll talk about the little internet page that we had maybe a little bit later. I haven't even finished saying how wonderful the Ood are. Silas Carson is the voice of the Ood. We don't really... It's interesting, we don't really explore massively the treatment of the Ood, and especially the fact that they all die at the end and nobody seems to mind too much. So actually these are all nice people on this space station, but they do have slaves, essentially. Although they're willing slaves, I think it is drawn attention to, but actually it's not the point of the story. So it's a lovely, clever little piece of shading that just says, just have an eye on this because it's slightly dodgy. But that's not what the story's about. But it's there, lurking in the background. It's very interesting, and of course they become very important to the mythology of Doctor Who later on. They are a terrific design, a synthesis of design and voice. And of course, the fact that they are so gentle and benevolent, they do the empty child trick. The empty child is scary because it sounds like a child. The Ood, when they're taken over by the beast, sounds scary because they're polite, a bit like the robots of death. It's the calmness and the politeness when they say, "We're going to kill you all," that makes them scary. So much going on here that is brilliant. And this bit about fueling the Empire, starting the war, that was the trailer last week. So it makes you think, oh, is this about some dodgy spacefaring, stripping planets of minerals? It's actually, none of that's very important at all. That's to give them a reason to be there. But actually, the story ultimately doesn't care about that. So it's very interesting that was what was sort of plugged, whereas actually it's just a little bit of texture. Yes, buried something and it's reaching out. And look at all of these close-ups. I have to say there's a bit here that I really don't like. And I'll tell you the bit. It's this bit. David Tennant makes a noise because when he hugs him, which I know some people hate, I'm fine with that. And the Doctor and Rose are worth talking about at some point. Hang on. Yeah, right. It's when Zach says not at all, and the Doctor sort of goes, like a sort of like Bertie Wooster on acid. It's a really odd sort of... Because he's being quite... sycophantic is the wrong word, but he's being quite syrupy there. And I know there was a feeling at the time that the Doctor and Rose were a little bit too smug, which, as we discover, is being very cleverly woven into it because of their ultimate downfall. And there's precedent for that with Doctor Who. John Pertwee's Doctor's regeneration is as a result of his inner failings, in a way. That the whole of Planet of the Spiders is a parable about having to reborn to to have the rebirth having to cleanse you. This dating back to the ending of Tooth and Claw, where they're having a laugh and they're being sort of set up for a fall. And kudos to Doctor Who magazine, because I know that in their interview with Russell T Davies, they did say that. They did say, aren't Doctor and Rose a little bit smug? And one, I think the fact that they had enough of a relationship with him that they were able to ask him that, the fact that he allowed that to be asked, the fact that that was allowed to go into the magazine, I shows great healthiness and confidence and decency from him as an exec. And a healthy attitude to the program. No, when a lot of the publicity around the show was necessarily an electronic press kit like Doctor Who Confidential, of course it was good. That I remember some people go on various forums, well, they're just going on about how great the show is. Well, of course they are. It's part of it's some really interesting behind the scenes stuff, but they're never going to go. It's for history to tell us which ones were a nightmare or which ones were awful. Although they were pretty candid on Doctor Who Confidential. There was about things that didn't work or whatever. But yeah, the tone was upbeat. But actually, Doctor Who magazine were allowed to ask questions. And I think occasionally the Doctor and Rose are a little bit uncomfortable to watch. And that bit with the Doctor hugging Zack, I can see as a bit Marmitey. I can see why people might not like that. As I say, I'm sort of okay with it, because I think David Tennant's so good, but I just don't like that noise he makes. And you don't. It's not, the camera's not actually on him, so it might not even be his noise. It might just be a bit of the rafters creaking. But it's yeah, I can't even do it. But this is great. They've lost the TARDIS. And look at that shot as well, which is, and it's got Bolero from which my generation associate with Torval and Dean, the ice skaters. In fact, I remember, I'm sure SFX magazine did a preview of this, and I think it hadn't been fully scored. And at the end of this, they'd put a temporary track in, and they'd use Mars, Bringer of War, but the reviewer hadn't realised that and said, and the welcome use of Mars, Bringer of War. And so when I heard this coming, I thought, they're augmenting it with actual music, whereas this one is obviously part of the story, but maybe that's how Mars comes in. Mars didn't come in at all. So that was it was so great at the time, because you'd be on the internet, you'd be fed little bits, tantalising little glimpses, and the places you could go where you could get spoiler-free previews. Jason Arnott did some on Gallifrey Base. I remember SFX magazine did them, and they judged them very well. This was the scene on Totally Doctor Who, which was a kids show, which I taped all of, and I had to be in for. Did I tape on video? I was still using VHS at this point. I'm making my own covers. When the whole world had moved on to DVD. No, I was recording things on VHS. I had a DVD player, not a recorder. This is so brilliant. I love this scene. I love the darkness of it. It's about as scary as Doctor Who can go, really. And it's just a man talking to another man. But it's that... you have the sort of Ring thing, don't you, when that scene that comes up, the don't turn around. Well, of course, if somebody tells you not to turn around, you're tempted to turn around. But yeah, what we had on our comedy forum. Hang on, I like this bit coming up as well, because this is just we're doing a bit of what do they eat. It seems like beans and soya sauce, and it just seems to be a bit of awkwardness with the alien, and they're getting used to the it's still underlining. But I love that. That is just a terrifying thing. The man, the Ood suddenly doing that ancient litany, and it's brilliant because all of that stuff. When you're talking about a creature from mythology, you can have that sort of language that has a grandiosity based on it because it's from ancient Screed. So you can use language that you wouldn't use now, which again gives it its power. And I love this bit where you get the flash of the, oh, look at that. There are so many amazing moments. This is absolutely chock full with quality spooks and scares. I wouldn't be surprised if when they've watched the first edit of this, they just went, this is just fantastic. And it's a sort of, it's a traditional Doctor Who base under siege, except in the next episode, of course, it becomes... No, of course you don't know Alexa. Sorry, I'm being heckled by Alexa. I must stop saying her name. Yeah, she's like a voice in my ear saying things that terrify me. I adore this scene. I think it's absolutely terrific. It's scary, and it's just a basic thing. If you're a kid watching this, I should think you discovered that the colour of adrenaline is brown. I just think... Yeah, the temptation. It's like The Ring, isn't it? Don't look at this. And Gabriel Woolf is so amazing. And it's brilliantly directed. Is this James Strong's first one? I think it is, and he does a terrific job on this. One look and you'll die. And the camera's coming towards. But of course, the second episode becomes something different. You've got that whole long bit of the Doctor musing on religion and what it's all about. It looks like it's going to be a story that's going to go one direction, and you still get plenty of that, aliens kind of stuff. But there's more to it. And that's so clever, isn't it? The writing's gone. Where is it? It's on his hands. That is, it's not on his hands yet, but it's going to be on his hands. Sorry. It's on his hands, guys. And the music, I just think that's a brilliant Doctor Who scene. I remember watching it in the blazing sun, just going, oh, this is the Doctor Who I never dreamed of, and yet now this is it. This is perfect Doctor Who to me. This is perfect Doctor Who reimagined for the 21st century. It's got stuff that's like Doctor Who, even though it's stuff that Doctor Who hasn't done, or if it has done, it didn't do it in that way. Oh, it's just, I love it. Sorry. I know I'm supposed to be being positive. Sometimes it's easier than others. And there's always something that's gauging your interest. And of course, this is brilliant seeding because, we have the roof opening, which later on is going to have quite a horrible moment. And you've still got lurking the fact that the Doctor and Rose have lost the TARDIS. And of course, they're going to get it back in the end, but it just gives another moment of jeopardy. And it puts them on edge. It puts them on the back foot. And even though these people seem nice, but you do have that lurking at the back, they are slavers in a way. And you've also got lurking, what? Keith and Sylvia haven't... Have I called them Keith and Sylvia? I think so. They've just had their dinner. Jefferson, sign off the airlock. Scooty, go and do a thing. Keith and Sylvia, what are you going to do? Play table football? I think you saw Jefferson actually incline his head there to say, "You two come with me." See, Claire Rushbrook doesn't even speak to them. All right, I'll tell Keith and Sylvia. Are you going to blank them forever? Ida. And the score for this is very good as well. It does have. I think Murray Gold, who would also for some quarters get a lot of stick, I think is hugely responsible for the feel of a lot of these stories. And I know a lot of people don't like wall-to-wall music, and there are occasions. I think comedy scenes perhaps don't always need plinky-plonky accompaniment to tell you that they're comedy, but I'm a comedian, so I would say that. Just leave the jokes to us. We don't need you to signify them. and I had these soundtracks. So yeah, we had on a comedy forum that I used to go on. I used to go on all sorts of forums. I used to so worry about what people had to say and if people were mean, try and correct it. I couldn't give a stuff what anybody thinks now, and I don't know why people do. I see people on Twitter today getting angry with people's reaction to the Comic-Con trailer here or this piece of casting there. I don't care what anybody else thinks. Do you know what I mean? I want everybody to like Doctor Who, but if somebody's going to get cross with us, fine. Nobody's opinion is wrong. I'm not going to change their opinion either. So it's bizarre that people get angry with other people's opinions. But I was there. I spent way too much time in the early days of internet forums, patrolling it for information or people saying things that I didn't agree with or little snippets about the new series, particularly, stuff coming out. Who's calling her? This is a lovely little mystery. He is brilliant. And it's great because you just have the devil speaking through different people. So yeah, anyway, on this comedy forum, I'd always do a thread about the latest Doctor Who, and I said, let's play who do we think's gonna die in what order, and I thought everyone was gonna die apart from Toby and Ida. I thought they would be the survivors. I thought everyone else would get killed. I thought Danny would get killed first because he's slightly cowardly, and sort of comic reliefy. I thought Zach was, definitely going to prove himself by, doing something brave and proving that he could be Captain Stay Behind to blow up the base or whatever. I thought Jefferson, would pretty much go the way that he did, doing something brave and holding people off. I didn't even bother with Sheila and Keith. I knew I think Sheila dies in the trailer. Sylvia or Sheila? Which do I prefer? Sheila. I think Sheila dies in the trailer for next week, doesn't she? Her death is... and Keith dies this week. Yeah, so I knew they were toast. I knew they were toast from the minute they didn't say anything. This is brilliant. And of course, there's not all that number. I saw this, in Doctor Who Confidential. They got fewer Ood than that, and they just had to shoot it a few times for the sort of aerial shot. And this is great because I don't really know what any of that, basic 30 and all that, what it means. But what it is it's a number that ups the ante. It's a thing that goes off the scale that, look at that, and you will worship it. And it's the fact that they're so kindly a voice that makes them so terrifying. Oh, poor old Scooty Minister. And she's had a brilliant career, hasn't she? And they in the Doctor Who Confidential, they went into great detail about, because she had to go underwater, didn't she? Then they had some underwater filming for this. So I think the commentary that they had on the episode, those were the days, weren't they, when there was a red button commentary and you got a commentary on the DVD. They really went to... Being a Doctor Who fan at this time was the best. It was just the best. My personal life wasn't in it. God, it's so much water under the bridge between then and now. God, Mike. So when was this? This was... God, so my kids who were infants, tiny children, juniors, then are now men. Lots of... I've disappointed more than one woman between then and now. A lot of water under the bridge. This seems... I consider this new Who, and if I think of the amount of life I've lived between then and now, why did I get onto that? Oh, well, because my Anna Buring's had a fantastic career since then. But being a Doctor Who fan at that time, life wasn't particularly great in many ways where I was in my personal life and in my upstairs. Being a Doctor Who fan was amazing, and I think, and I think I'd lived a lot of my life being cross about the fact that Doctor Who wasn't on anymore, because it really was, still is, the thing that gives me the most pleasure. That not only had it come back, but this is series 2, and people are still sticking with it. The difficult second album, suffering the loss of a Doctor, actually and that's great, because somebody has to die, and it's lovely. Poor old Scooty. That's a great way of doing her death as well. Just the glass and her hands coming away. We like poor old Scooty. Good name too, Scooty Minister. It's a great name. But being a Doctor Who fan at this time, I almost feel sorry for young, and I can't believe I'm saying it, because I bumped into somebody I used to go to school with the other day, and we're both 47, and we were saying we still both look out of the same eyes that we looked out when we were 18, where we thought 47-year-olds knew everything and had it all sorted and didn't have any worries. Oh God, I'm still clueless and terrified. Clueless and terrified and disappointed. But Doctor Who, Doctor Who was riding high, and after all of those years, is everyone there? Where are Sheila and Keith? Are Sheila and Keith there? I don't know if they are, and I wonder if there was a discussion about Sheila and Keith at any point. But it was, oh yeah, there they are. They're in the foreground. Good. Yeah. Oh, and I like Danny. That's Danny Webb said, "Come on to them there as well." Danny Webb is being a nice actor there. Is he's sort of including the supporting artists in his business in order, and that's nice. And I know when you're a performer who's got very little to do, and there's a performer of stature with you, and they sort of include you in what they're doing. It's nice. Oh, Keith got to do a bit of hand acting. She's not. I haven't seen her anywhere. And of course, this is brilliant because we've already established what that is. And Rose sees it before we do. And that's it's interesting. The effect looks slightly dated now. I remember at the time it was it's state of the art. I still think it holds up, but it's, and again the fact that he does it in the official way, rather than saying Scooty's dead, give her official state, blah, 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 that gives it more gravitas. He's very good, Russell T Davies, at making each individual death land, each individual dramatic moment land, and the timing of the way a face turned and the cutting. And so it's not just Russell, it's the direction as well. And give a good actor a speech. Yeah. And I don't know what that's from. And I think it is from something, and I think it might be a slightly truncated or cut about, but whatever it is, don't write in. Again, I'm a sucker for something that sounds like it has import, even though it's just words, but it gives it you feel the death of Scooty, and each person reacts in a different way. Ida's, she was 20, is a very human response, but Jefferson's reaction, which is less sort of personal, but somehow acquires a loftiness because of he does it in terms of the way that he does his job. Is this the first time? I think this is the first time we see the orange spacesuits as well, which become a thing. Sean Parks is great, and this has taken its cue from Alien and Aliens in the fact that they're ordinary people doing a job, and they're not all wearing silvery overalls and space hats. And there's lots of industrial smoke and all of that sort of stuff, which is great. And there's a bit of this Murray Gold theme is a recurring one, isn't it? while I'm enjoying this adventure, I hope that you are. And it actually hasn't become that basey under siegey yet. It's more sort of Space 1999 thing, isn't it? 1999, Space 99 we used to call it, of, you know, somebody being taken over by something. And of course somebody being taken over by something is always good, because, you know, you get the strength of the actor rather than it having to be, you know, somebody in a rubber mask or something. Although actually the rubber mask stuff going on here is great. So we've got Ida and the Doctor going down. They make a nice pairing, don't they? Ida and the Doctor. She's one of those great, like Jane Hampton in The Awakening, and Todd in Kinder, a sort of intelligent. I don't want to say older woman, because that's. I just mean older than often companion types are. The sort of people the Doctor normally hangs around with, and I really like the dynamic that they have, and I got a feeling he was thinking of bringing her back at some point, wasn't he? And then it didn't happen. But she would have been a character that I would have quite happily seen return, and brings a lovely humanity. She's got, as I say, she's got such a sort of gentle, empathic quality about her as an actress. And I sort of knew who she was, but I didn't associate her with a particular program. But yeah, she's great. It's a great cast. Not a weak link in the cast, I don't think. You know, this is getting very, very exciting now, because the Ood are on the march, and I think this is bad news for Keith, isn't it? Who's not going to shoot them because they're valuable in their livestock or whatever, which gives him an excuse because sometimes you think, why don't you just kill them? And so they're down at the bottom, which is lovely. But now having lost the TARDIS, we're now going to have Rose and the Doctor separated from each other. There are always odds, and it's always tied to that central relationship. I love the gravity globe. That's a nice little bit of sci-fi. Oh, there's a gargoyle-y thing in the rocks. I like that. Because this is location, isn't it? Which gives it a fantastic sense of scale. But it's location augmented, which I can see much better on this big screen than I recall at the time. I don't recall the big scary beasts being quite so noticeable. Oh, I'd just forgotten. I haven't seen this for a while. I like it, though. And of course, poor old Sean Parks, if you think about it, if you break down his contribution to this, he must have spent a couple of days just in that chair acting, because he spends quite a lot of his screen time on his own. And actually, to stop that, to keep the energy up, to actually behave as if you really are talking to other people, and to keep it alive, that takes... I think that's sometimes the invisible acting that doesn't always get the credit that it deserves, because it blends in so seamlessly. But you need a good actor to be doing that sort of stuff. Yeah, what's happening, Danny? Ask Keith. But all of this industrial stuff is great, and it's funny because there's a lot of yellow in the set, which yellow is not a colour one associates with horror, but it's basic 100. Yeah. See, that it doesn't really mean anything, but it gives it another. It's like here's a thing we've invented to tell you things are bad. don't call her Officer at Arms. Call her by her name. Oh, now she just nodded then. So that yes, sir, will have been done in post by not the actress playing the part. It's how a lot of things are done these days. Now, I think to do a yes, sir, I think that's perfectly acceptable. But you quite often now get parts that would have been played by an actor. Spooks used to do it all the time, where I'd be sort of out of focus over somebody's shoulder, and they'd say, "Sir, here's some important stuff that we're telling you," and the shoulder wouldn't belong to the person doing the voice, because you could pay the shoulder an extras fee, you could pay the voice guy person an ADR fee, and it saves you having to hire an actor and give them all the things that you have to give actors. So it means that the parts that people used to be able to help augment their careers with, by doing bits and bobs here and there, are sort of getting ironed out or diminished or changed or not happening, which is not great news when work on television is so scant. Love this. Oh, Gabriel Wolfe, and well done Will Thorpe as well, because. And poor old Toby had been so sweet, and of course he still is when he loses. But just the little things like the crunching of his muscles there when he does that. And I'd totally forgotten about this. The whole brilliant, the devil playing with the psychology of everybody. So we don't know what Mr. Jefferson did, but Danny Webb's acting tells you all you need to know. That his buttons are being pushed by this creature, and of course the devil is the voice in our head, and there's the scene next week when again he preys upon everybody's insecurities, and of course it's our insecurities that bedevil us, as it were. And he did a nice little look there, Will thought, when the devil had taken him, to show that, oh no, Toby's still. So you for the whole thing, when Toby's not the devil, the beast, you actually feel quite sorry for him, which is why I thought he would be okay. Which is why it's quite a nice sleight of hand that he retains that vestige. I think at this point you're desperate for somebody to shoot somebody, because there's a lot of stand down, click your weapon, don't do this, blah 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 blah. And I think Mr. Jefferson does start shooting, because I'm just getting to the point now where I go, somebody shoot somebody, for goodness sake, because I think Keith really takes his time. You don't know what you're doing. I mean, shoot first, Keith, ask questions later. But he's got quite pointy sideburns there, Keith. Yeah, see, if you'd fired when he was at the foot of the stairs, Keith, you'd have lived to episode 2. But Danny doesn't go, Keith's dead. I think Keith and Sylvia are brother and sister, and they're both called Harvey, and they're related to Harvey from the Seeds of Death. That I've decided that, because if say Danny had been with Jefferson and Jefferson had just been killed, he'd have gone, Mr. Jefferson has died. But Keith isn't even mentioned in the log. Actually, at the end, does it? They list the ood before they mention Sylvia and Keith. I'm very, very sad for Sylvia and Keith. Sheila and Keith, I don't even know her name. This is the problem. She's called Sylvia Sheila Harvey. She at least gets to survive to episode 2. This location stuff's great. There was something about the size of the hole, isn't it? Don't they say... I'm terrible at maths and sizes and anything anyway, but don't they say it's 20 foot across and it's not, it's 20 metres or the other way around? But that I had to have that pointed out to me. It didn't occur to me at all, because obviously that's not really there. But this is brilliant. This is a great cliffhanger coming up. That is a huge cheat, but everything is piling on. So you've got the Ood on the march, the planet is going into the black hole, the Doctor and Ida are next to the Devil's Pit, which it's going to come out of. The Ood are marching on Rose. I mean, everyone is in danger. every element of the plot and every character has something that is imperiling them. Although in the Doctor and Ida's case, it turns out that that's just the camera. It's not actually the devil, which is a bit of a cheat. But I think that's brilliant. I think that's so exciting. I think that's atmospheric. Oh, I can read the credits. Danny Webb at the top of them. Gabriel Wolf. The fact that Gabriel Wolf was sucked through time from Pyramids of Mars to voice the devil in this, I think, was a moment of genius, and it shows respect to the old series as well, which is important to me, and I think they did. I think they did very well. You know, I think they did to just the right amount, actually, because you can be too respectful, too obsessed. See, that is so unfair on poor old Sheila, but that's very Aliens, isn't it? But this, you're watching this going, this is just a movie. This is a movie, and that was a movie. And they look so good. And that flash of the devil, is there going to be a flash? Yes. Oh, so good, so good. Well, I'm not going to watch the next episode, and because, of course, the Next Time trailer was at the end of the episode, I got to see the whole credits moving at a readable speed. That's a terrific episode of Doctor Who. I don't think there's much wrong with that. I think it's all done really, really well. Favourite bits, favourite things, and he's chosen 4, I think. I think the Ood are fantastic. I think in conception, design, voice, there's so much expression. They're totally believable. The texturing, everything. The Ood, they're brilliant. And weren't the Slitheen supposed to be in that at one point? I know that it'd be interesting to see the original script, because I believe it was changed quite a lot. Anyway, let's not get into that. The Ood, number 1. Number 2, the scene where Toby and gets don't look at me, and the Beast, and I'll include in that getting Gabriel Wolf to voice the Beast. So if he chooses that, that is encompassed by my choice of that scene. I've got to choose 4, haven't I? I think the fact. Well, I think the ensemble cast. I don't want to choose anybody. I'm not going to single anybody out because I think they're all very good. So I think that's going to be number 3. And number 4, I will choose, well, the fact that it's the devil, the fact that it's a primal horror, that you have an alien threat, but that also is dressed in the clothes of horror, and I love that combination. I'm much more scared of horror than I am of sci-fi. This is sci-fi with a horror baddie. Beautiful. I wonder what Nick. Oh no, he's done them in separate files. So this is Nick's favourite thing, number 1.
Thank you, Toby. And let's talk about the impossible planet. There are so many wonderful Doctor Who moments in this episode that it's really, really, really difficult to pick just 3 of them, plus a bonus one, which I might have a bonus one for each episode and just completely change the rules, because that's what the Doctor does, doesn't he? He also lies. I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to tell you what I think about those episodes. Written by Matt Jones, who I used to do martial arts with years ago. Or we went to the same club. I don't think we actually were there on the same nights for some reason. But yes, we used to do that. And he was a teacher at Goldsmiths and then became a brilliant writer, which is fantastic. So Matt, if you're watching, fantastic work. Congratulations on being a brilliant writer. And yes, I have put on a little bit of holiday weight. How many holidays have you been on? Never mind. Anyway, let's talk about my favourite things of Doctor Who. This episode, the first thing is a little bit left field. It's about Rose Tyler and the Doctor and their evolving relationship. Me, as a viewer, personally, I felt slightly uncomfortable watching because they were making little in-jokes, all very cosy. Mickey had been completely forgotten after 2 episodes. No reference at all since he left. And I just think Rose is getting her feet well under that TARDIS console. So I sort of didn't like it because I felt, as a viewer, slightly pushed away. But I wonder if it was sort of written like that to make us feel, what's happening here? So in a sort of weird self-flagellatory way, I kind of liked it. Because I knew where it was going, because I read a few spoilers, So all I can say to you, Rose Tyler, is there's a storm brewing. There's a storm brewing.
Well, he's enjoying himself, isn't he? That raised a lot of things. Yes, Matt Jones. I don't know Matt Jones at all. I knew, of course, he wrote Fluid Links in Doctor Who magazine. He's not written. I've never read an interview with him about Satan Pit. I couldn't tell you what he looks like. And yet, yeah, he's the brains behind an absolutely fantastic Doctor Who story. I wonder one day he will tell his story, I am sure. And interestingly, part of that story will be, and I know Russell has talked about it, but it will be interesting how history takes that journey of the Doctor and Rose and that, because... But there is something self-flagellating about going, oh, my thing's really successful. Oh, they seem a bit happy. And then you read into it and go, so they're being smug. Because suddenly, if people are happy when they're successful, they're smug. That's the rules, apparently. And so your self-flagellatory thing goes, oh, well, I don't want people to think that it's... Suddenly I've gone from being the underdog to being the one who likes the thing that everybody else likes. So I don't want people to think that's... It's amazing, the mental gymnastics we do to worry about what people will think and how people will take our attitude or even the attitude of the characters in the thing that we like, which are therefore reflected on us. But I think it has to be deliberate because it's seeded with there's a storm coming. You've taken your eye off the ball. You've enjoyed it too much, and there's a sort of moral lesson there in being addicted to danger. When she says at the beginning, should we go somewhere? They say, should we go somewhere else? And they laugh, and but wherever they go, they see people die, and it's almost like they're adrenaline junkies who eventually overdose, as it were, and the road, it has to come to an end. So I didn't choose that but for the same reason that Nick did, really, because I find it a bit uncomfortable. I know that it's there for a reason, but it doesn't mean I particularly like sitting in terms of what else is in the story. Those bits, you do make me feel slightly uncomfortable, which is good for a viewer and good for a drama, but it means I'm not sure I like it. Do you know what I mean? I'm supposed to not like it, so therefore I'm not going to choose it. So what's his second thing?
Ooh. Now it's time for my second favourite thing in The Impossible Planet, and that is Scooty's death, which is a little bit morbid, but it's rather beautiful as well, and also it just encapsulates a really classic, exciting, terrifying, wondrous Doctor Who moment. So we start with Scooty sort of closing up for the night. Myanna Buring, who brilliant performance, brief but fantastic. And then this gradual build-up to something's going wrong. We know something's going wrong. Then it cuts to that incredible shot of Toby's head. He's outside on the surface where you can't breathe, and he's got all these amazing scary markings on, and he's got red eyes, a bit like mine now, dear readers. And so she looks really, really shocked. And then there's this rather beautiful, mysterious, spiritual connection, and it's all to do with Murray Gold's wonderful music. It sounds like very cello-like, which is supposed to be the closest of a human voice. So there's that sort of spiritual, it's almost like it's telling some epic story that's connecting them, that we have, we don't know anything about. It's from, beyond the universe or whatever. And obviously he's just trying to mess with her head, isn't he? But I just love that. And then that awful terror when he starts to clench his fist and the glass starts to break. It is terrifying. I mean, my God. So that was fantastic. But, very sad as well. R.I.P. Scooty, sorry, that's my producer there.
Yeah, I nearly chose that. Why didn't I choose that? And because I like Danny Webb's speech as well. I'm a sucker for a speech. Even when it's not me that's giving it. Why didn't I choose Scooty's death? I don't know. It was hiding in plain sight because it is fantastic. And Nick's described the music much better than I could there because I'm not musical at all. And it is the thing that's particularly peculiar to this story is that sort of cello-y score. And I hadn't known that about it being closest to the human voice. That's interesting, but it does give it a sort of ancient, because it feels like it's an ancient reed or something that it's being drawn on. I don't know, but I can see what he means, and he explained it better than I. Why didn't I choose Scooty's death? I don't know, because he's excellent. Oh dear. You see, you forget when you're under pressure. Here's his third thing.
Oh, it's just bubble wrap. I thought I'd been taken over by an alien. That's all right then. On to my final observation and exciting bit of Doctor Who. But I do have one more bit as well, which is a bonus bit. But the end of the episode is my final bit. It's fantastic. It's very, very exciting. It's very Doctor Who-y. There is so much jeopardy going on. The Ood are waking up and they're saying some have called us Satan, some have called him Satan, some have called him Ethel Merman, some have called him Kato, Rani and the Mara, and all that. It's very, very exciting. And the Doctor and Ida Scott are trapped down in the pit, and they've lost the TARDIS and everything. So it's really, really major jeopardy. So that is a pretty humdinger cliffhanger.
Yeah, I didn't choose that either, did I? I'm doing so badly. And yet they're all things I could have chosen. That's interesting, because then as I was doing, after I chose the first two, I was struggling to identify things, and those two should have come into my head straight away. I need to write things down. Now, he's done an extra bit that he says breaks up a lot of the Base Under Siege stuff, so let's see what this extra bit is.
Hello. I'm Lord Squawky McSquawky from the Shansheath. A little bit of Doctor Who trivia here. Anytime a Doctor Who character dies, a Shansheath earns its wings. I'm so terribly, terribly, terribly sorry for your loss. Goodbye.
Okay, for the listener, there was an approximation of a Shansheath there with a sort of emu glove puppet type thing that Nick just happened to have lying around. So thanks to that contribution. And now the Impossible Planet bonus bit. Let's see if I can claw back some. Let's see if he chooses one of the things I blooming well chose.
So to my bonus bit. And it's actually a really obvious bit that I should have picked as one of my main three, but I just wanted to fox you with the Rose Tyler rant. It's Toby. Don't turn around. Toby Hadoke. All that scene. And he looks in the mirror and it's he's got his stuff on and all the rest of it. He's got red eyes. And oh my God, that's a pretty exciting bit. So I would say that is my bonus bit. Thank you. So I'm pretty well done now. I got this sheep from a second-hand cyber sale. It's called a cyber sheep, actually. It gets a bit frisky sometimes, but I think it's safe. Excuse me. I think I better... Goodbye.
Now, you may think that Nick is a frustrated performer. He's not frustrated at all. He's very much a performer and having a great time doing it. Thanks to Nick for his contribution. He will plug his wares at the end of the next episode. He does a brilliant podcast called the Scratch and Sniff podcast, where he's interviewed some brilliant people: Stephanie Beecham, Anne Mitchell, Julie Hesmondhall, all sorts of people. And there's also an episode with me. I suspect he's interviewed my other half as well. I suspect she was the target, and I was, I was the little piece of land that you had to capture first before you got to the capital. Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed that episode. It was a bit. I loved it at first time when it was the blazing heat, but it really does seem right to be watching it in the dark, as I am, because what was that? Sorry, somebody's saying my name. That what? That they're telling me not to turn around, but I want to turn around, but they'll say I'd die if I turn around.
Thank you so much, Toby Hadoke, for allowing me to be on this podcast, and I'm looking forward to coming back to talk about the Satan Pit with you. Just to say that I have a podcast called SNS Online, where I interview actors, writers, musicians, and all sorts, so check that out. And I'm available for weddings, bar mitzvah, summer season, for the rest of my life. But until next time, it's me, Nick Randell, signing out. Happy times and places.
Thank you very much for listening to Happy Times and Places with me, Toby Hadoke, and my guest, Nick Randell, who can be found online on Twitter at Scratch and Tweet. Scratch, the letter N, Tweet. That's his podcast that he's plugging, and great fun it is too. This podcast would not be possible without the support of patrons, who include Ruben Herfindahl, Peter Harness, Rob Leonard, Stephen Moffat, Richard Straw, Jim Sankster, Matt Sawyer, Keith Say, Len Stewart, Neil Tate, Nick Tedston, Nick Temple, Sabrina Tirabassi, Reynard Toombs, Apollo C. Vermouth, Gary Wales, Adam Westwood, Rich Wiggins, Michael Williams, Andrew Willis, and Stephen White. The music for this podcast is by Dave Gates, and the artwork by Dylan Patterson. Do you want to become a patron of a tired and lonely thespian who churns out Doctor Who-related chat at a ridiculous level? Yes, if you're listening on iTunes, you're getting these a couple of times a week, about 50 minutes worth of material every week. Patrons get about double that, and they're 6 months ahead with the Happy Times and Places, and a bit ahead too with the Too Much Information and Indefinable Magic podcasts. There's also bonus material, exclusive material, and a bit of chitter-chatter as well. You can do all of those things on patreon.com/Toby Hadoke from as little as £3 a month. Signing up for a year gets you 10% off on top of that. If you like to support the arts, but not as a regular thing, the arts, he says, the arts, but, you know, that boy's got to try. You can do so at kofi.com/Toby Hadoke, where you can just buy me a coffee or give me a tip or just make my heart dance a little bit in the middle of the day. If you can do neither of those things, and that's perfectly understandable, I'm just grateful to you for listening to this stuff. However, if you like it, please give it 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts from. I know I keep asking, but that really, really does help to get it up the charts and on the lists and just get it noticed so that more people listen and hopefully like it, because otherwise I'm just howling at the moon. And you're lovely, but I'll look a bit strange if there's just the two of us. Yes, you could be the only listener. You're not, but if my algorithms aren't tickled, you might be. So go ahead and tickle them by giving me 5 stars and a good review at iTunes or Podbean or any of the places where you get your podcasts from. Thank you. And my real job is being a stand-up comedian, and I present a show, Excess Malarkey, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. in Manchester in the UK. We went online during the pandemic, and that was successful enough to ensure that people asked that we continue. Now, we can't do that every Tuesday. We're live again. So the first Sunday of every month on twitch.tv/Excess Malarkey, I will be presenting 4 comedians from around the world doing what they do best, and at absolutely no cost to you. There is a donation model button thing available, but you don't have to. So if you do nothing on the first Sunday of any month at 8 p.m, it's there on twitch.tv/Excess Malarkey, and there are clips and highlights from previous shows and all our lockdown stuff on there as well, so you can lose yourself if you fancy doing a deep dive. This post-credit stuff is threatening to be longer than the actual show now.